Good afternoon, everyone. Um, really exciting week. Proud of our team, our players, and coaches for all the hard work that they've done and getting us to this point. Looking forward to a great challenge for us to be able to play a really good football team that's 3-0 and beat a good Texas Tech team, really good Texas Tech team. Also, just came from winning the Apple Cup against Washington. Super impressive team. Coach Decker, done a really good job there at Washington State. Obviously, their quarterback Materials, he's super impressive, super explosive, dynamic, can run, can throw. Um, he could have did our he would have been perfect in our offense at Navy too, and he's running conventional stuff, so he's super talented. Averaging almost 44 points a game, almost 500 yards a game. They're pretty balanced, running, throwing the ball and running the ball. And so it's going to be a tough team to defend. Good players on defense. Last year when I was at UCLA, I had the privilege of being able to see them, them play and kind of see Washington State up close and personal, and a really good program. A few of the coaches on their staff, just really good coaches, good people. And so it'll be a tough challenge for us, but our kids are looking forward to it.
Questions for Coach?
To this point in the season, could you put into words if this team has found their identity yet, and if so, what is it?
Yeah, I think we're getting closer and closer. I think we're a team, a resilient team. We're a team that's a hard-nosed, gritty group. As Coach Odom tries to call them, a grimy group. Coach Stutz used the word grit or gritty, and so just a tough, hard-nosed team that's going to play hard, play for each other, and I think we're getting more and more into our identity. Just a swarming defense that has done a great job of taking the ball away. Feel like when we're on point, we've been a pretty explosive offense, and feel like if we can take care of the football, we have a chance to be really, really good. But a lot of good things happening right now. But the exciting thing for us is we feel like there's a lot of improvement. So looking forward to that.
And then Emmett Brown, he was a walk-on at Washington State. I don't know if you've had any conversations with him about kind of being prepared to go back to somewhere he played with a little chip on his shoulder.
Well, I think most importantly is he's got to get ready for a really good defense. And Coach Decker, he's a defensive guy, and one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. He's done a really good job for many years, and so he's got to, none of that stuff matters. You got to get ready to play the game. You got to take all that emotional stuff or whatever the other stuff is, and just find a way to to get ready the best you can to lead our football team and our offense.
You guys are starting 3-0, but coming up with Washington State, it's the biggest challenge of the year so far for you guys. What have you been telling your guys to get them ready for this?
Well, we have smart kids. I didn't need to tell them that. This is far and away the best football team that we have played to date, and will probably be one of the top teams that will play this season. So it's going to be a tough challenge, and our guys recognize we're going to their place. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. Their quarterback is as dynamic as a quarterback as there is in the country. And I saw Cam Ward last year in person, so I know how dynamic he is. And, this kid is, super talented. So we recognize that we have to play, at our best to even have a chance against these guys.
And then the last press conference and the one before, you put an emphasis on limiting turnovers. What has gone into practice this week to try and work on that for you guys?
Well, we just continue to, to stress the same things, continue to keep pressing, coaching and teaching it. Just like anything else, you always talk about pad level and running to the ball and, different techniques. And it's never, ever perfect, but you just continue to keep coaching it.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Good afternoon.
This is the third week in a row now where there's a huge threat in the backfield with the quarterback being able to take off. Is that something where you feel good now that you're building that defense because you've had experience in these past weeks with the quarterback being a dual threat?
Yeah. When you watch tape, it's hard to feel good when you watch this kid. He's so dynamic. He's their leading rusher. I mean, he's super dynamic with the ball, and he can take off at any time. But he's also a really good passer too. So it's that dual threat. Um, he's got a strong arm, and he's super explosive. It makes it tough. Yes, we've played some guys that are athletic, but this guy's in a different league.
Kyle Williams, also the top receiver, was listed on the Blitknoff watch list earlier this year. Is there kind of a game plan for a number one receiver like that coming in the league?
Well, Coach Oldham's, I mean, he does obviously a really good job of getting our defense ready. I don't want to disclose too many things, but there's a lot of things. That's why they're so dynamic. There's so many different things you got to stop. I mean, they're pretty balanced in run to pass ratio. Their number and their outputs are pretty similar, so it's not like you can take away one thing because they got so many other weapons, so many facets to the games, and so yeah, this is gonna be a tall order for us.
Coach, looking at their air raid offense, and I mean, simplistically, you look at it like maybe teams that were successful put more people back in coverage. Can you contrast that? What really needs to happen? Is it more exotic looks and kind of confusing them back, or what's kind of the take on that?
Yeah, air raid, run and shoot. People that have thrown the ball for a long time. They've seen everything. They've seen every coverage, every blitz, every strategy to try to stop them. It's really the team that is able to execute their plan the best. But they have answers for everything. They have answers for different schemes you try to play. Um, like I said, we're just going to try our best to try to stop them. But really good offensive coordinator. He's got really good weapons, and that makes it tough. And their offensive line is physical. They're really run a lot of gap schemes, end zone schemes, but they're physical. They pass protect well. Like I said, you're excited with our last win, and then you put on the tape and you see them like that. Excitement leaves really quickly when you watch them on tape. They're a really good team.
And in that live environment, the intangibles of it's a big vibe and it's like a loud crowd. Is there something with the players that you talk about those kind of environments to make sure it doesn't amplify the mistakes or that approach of not being overwhelmed by the moment?
Yeah, you always try to do that as a coach. Try to get ready for the environment. How hostile it will be. Sometimes there's a lot of kids that haven't been in that. Some guys have been in it. We got to be able to go there and try our best to try to deal with it. But it's easier said than done. You try your best to coach it, to coach against it. But our kids got to perform when it's going, under tough circumstances. And like I said, it's going to be difficult.
Last time your team went on the road, you called it a suffocating. Suffocating is an effort you've ever seen against Air Force. Do you think your team in general enjoys going on the road and kind of being like the villain going into away stadium?
I think I definitely know that our team enjoyed going on the road because when you go on the road, it's just you. You know what I mean? It's just you on the plane, then you get on the bus. It's you against everybody else. I think our kids thrive in that. But we have a close group, and I think that's the one thing that kind of gets overlooked, and some of the things of how well our defense is playing, and the great things that the offense is doing, and that the team has to be close nowadays. I mean, it's nowadays with and I've said this a lot of times, just with the portal, there's a lot of teams that are, you're bringing rosters together. I mean, the rosters aren't the same. And being able to bring people together is something I feel like gets overlooked in it. Some people, have made that transition easier than others. But I think that's probably one of our strengths. We're a pretty close team and a team that loves each other. And when you go on the road in these kind of environment, I think it even enhances that more because it's you and your brother against the opponent and their crowd, and so it's also an exciting time. It's a tough challenge like Big Guys, but I think it's exciting.
And then I know you kind of focused on the season, but this past week, a lot of news with conference realignment. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, I mean you look at them. Obviously, we're part of it, but you can't worry too much about it because it's out of your control. and it's so adage, and it is a cliche, but the coaches in the coaching world, you try to control to the best of your ability the controllables, things that you can control, and it's out of our hands. All we can do is try to win and let the chips fall where they may. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said I haven't looked at it or read some of the stuff that's going on, but I don't give much credence to it because it really doesn't matter for us. There's nothing I can do. We just got to try to win.
And then most of the players I've talked to have mentioned that they love the family culture here that you're building in SJSU. And just what does it mean to you to see the players like buying into what you're trying to build here?
Well, I'm grateful for them because football and sports, it's always about the players. But I felt like the most important thing, first of all, to hire a really good staff. And I said this a few times. I feel like I knocked it out of the park with the guys that stayed, with Coach Odom and Coach McGibbon, the guys that came. That we have a really close group. I mean, later in the afternoon and even we're watching film, you can hear both sides of the ball laughing and joking. And the kids see that. They see if your staff's together or if there's some contention, or if you're not one as a staff, and you can see that. So I think that's the big part of it. Within just the kids that were here, our players that are here, embrace the new guys. But there are a lot of things that we try to do during the course of the off season to try to bring us together. Because I knew that it'd be critical for us to have some success, and just grateful that we have really good kids here. That's the thing more than anything. People have asked, what have been your thoughts coming here as opposed to where I've been? I've been impressed with the type of young men that we had in the program when we got here and the kids that we brought. We're just really good people.
And then speaking of the new coordinators you brought in, Coach Craig Stutzman for the first 3 weeks, Nick Nash and Emmett Brown are putting up amazing numbers. What's it kind of like to see that offense come to life?
Well, first of all, grateful that Nick stayed. Really excited that he was, conference offensive player of the week, well deserving. And, to see all that he's done has been awesome. And there's a lot more for him, too. So that's the exciting thing about it. We're getting better and better in offense. And that's the exciting thing for us is just we feel like we haven't hit our stride totally. There's been bits and parts. We haven't put a whole game together. And so, that's exciting me. They called back one of his touchdowns last week. I'm not complaining about it. I don't want to get fined from our league, but one got called back, and so you see all the things that he could have done more so. So he's getting better and better. He's being coached by Coach McGibbon and Billy Ray is coaching him, Stutzman, who besides Craig, nobody knows his offense better than his brother. And so I think their expertise has helped a really talented young man understand this offense because there's a lot of detail to this stuff, and he's smart. He retains information, and he's been able to use all his information to help him play better.
Coach, injury concerns. Just wondering, you think if Anela Latu would be ready to go this week?
We hope so. We're taking him on. He's going, and if there's any kid that I would think would play, it's him. He's banged up because he throws his body around. Nothing he does is half speed. Everything's 1,000 miles per hour. So he's banged up just because of the way he plays and the aggressiveness and he plays reckless out there. Not from a standpoint of he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a very cerebral, smart football player, but I'm betting on that he'll play. And we're hoping he does play, but right now we don't know.
We've talked a lot about what we see in the Washington State offense, but can you kind of talk about what you see the strong points of their defense are?
Well, schematically, like I said, they're really tough. They do a lot of some third down stuff. They're pretty exotic, But like I said, Coach Decker, he's a head coach, but was hired because he was known as one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. So schematically, there will be as sound and as good as anybody that will play. And talent-wise, they'll be the best defense that we played so far. We want to be close, but it will be far and away the best team that we played personnel wise. Like I said, I got to see their middle linebacker Thorin and a few of their guys last year when I was at UCLA. In person in the Rose Bowl when we played them, and really good players.
You talk about, or we talked about rebuilding versus retooling, and you mentioned the challenge with portal dynamics. And it seems like it's much less of time to develop either players or whatnot. And how do you, maybe you'd say the run game if you're trying to get that going, but how is that counteracted in a sense?
Yeah, that's So you get guys, you sign guys in February. The early guys that you get, but because of the change in coaches, we were able to there's some change in roster, and you were able to acquire some guys before spring practice. Then we had guys after spring ball, and it kind of helped us because we were able to recruit to Coach Stutzman's offense. What we want to do on offense, so we were able to kind of see who was out there in the portal, and so that kind of helped us. But they're coming, later on, and they're coming right before you start your summer workouts. You still got to get them into school, so that that's not just like signing one piece of paper and you're in. So there's that long process of getting them in. A lot of guys that we got in missed a lot of the workouts because they're still trying to get admitted to school. So you're kind of panicking a little bit because you've acquired all these guys and they still haven't practiced. And a lot of our linemen, that was our big emphasis with linemen and wide receivers. And so a lot of our guys, got in late, and they're getting better and better and knowing our schemes. So that's why we're excited that we can see their growth and their knowledge of what we're doing get better and better. And I think, like I said, we'll only keep getting better because of what you just said. The late acquisition of guys, the portal, and there's only so much you can do because of the care hours. It's not like you can meet with these guys all day or practice all day, when they first got here. So you had to abide by those rules. And so it was a learning curve, but fortunately, they're getting better. Our guys that we brought in are getting much better, which, we feel good about.
Any more questions for Coach?
Coach, you kind of talked about how this is arguably the best team that you've played so far. Does San Jose State kind of view this game as like a measuring stick for how the program will move for the rest of the season?
Well, most definitely. Most definitely. Just like I said, we're excited to be 3-0. I don't know how many 3-0 teams there are, and still left, and so we're grateful to still be in that group. We don't look backwards. We're just grateful that we were able to win those games. But people want to see this game. And just are we for real? Just like they're gonna go to Pullman and get pummeled. So so we recognize that this will be a game to kind of see where we stand. And so we recognize the tough challenge is going to be. All we can do is get ready the best we can and see what happens.
One more also. Last week they played in the Apple Cup. That's arguably their largest rivalry, and you were, of course, part of one of the most famous rivalries in college football. Can you kind of talk about what the next week is like after that then? I know it's not your team, but...
Yeah, there's an exciting time for them. I think they recognize, obviously, it's the early part of the season. So you got to keep pressing forward, and I'm sure the coaches and the players, that's been the emphasis to move forward. But to win your rivalry game is huge, and it takes a lot out. Emotionally, it's taxing because you give everything to win that game. But you try to win every game. It's not like, okay, we wanted that game so bad, okay, we're not going to try to win this game. But I'm sure their coaches, that's the big message. It was a great win, grateful to get the Apple Cup, grateful to beat our rivals, but we got to move on to the next week and get ready for San Jose. That's just like us. It wasn't a rivalry game, but we had to forget Kennesaw, and we'll see how they come. But we recognize that either way, it's going to be a tough challenge just because of who they are.